You know that incredibly specific, just hollow feeling when you pour your absolute soul into building something online.
Oh, yeah. It is not a fun feeling.
Right, like you spend weeks researching this massive 5,000-word article,
Mm.
or maybe you're up late designing this beautiful, totally frictionless product page for your e-commerce store.
You get every detail perfect.
Exactly. You finally hit publish, you sit back, you wait for the traffic to roll in, and crickets.
Just a total ghost town.
A complete ghost town. You are essentially screaming into a void. Google completely ignores you, and these new AI search engines, well, they pretend you don't even exist.
Yeah, and I think it violates a very basic, comforting assumption we all want to make about the internet, you know?
What?
That it's a pure meritocracy. I mean, we really want to believe that the best writing, the most original ideas, the absolute highest quality products will naturally just bubble up to the surface.
If that's what we're told, right?
Yeah.
Good content wins.
Right, but the underlying architecture of digital visibility is, well, it's brutal. It honestly doesn't care about your prose.
That doesn't care at all.
No. To a search crawler, you either exist in a structural language it can instantly parse, or you simply do not exist. There's no middle ground.
So we really need to unpack this today. We've got this fascinating stack of source material sitting in front of us, and it's a deep, highly technical breakdown of a relatively new platform called SEOPilot.
Yeah, it's a really interesting read.
And the mission for this deep dive is to basically isolate those hidden, highly technical barriers that are keeping your websites invisible today.
Because they are definitely hiding there.
Oh, for sure. And this tool is making this massive, borderline audacious claim. They say they can completely auto-fix your technical SEO.
Like dynamically rewrite your foundational code.
Exactly. Dynamically rewriting your code with absolutely zero technical skills required on your end.
Which is a huge claim.
It's huge. So we're going to figure out if automating the skeleton of your website is actually the missing link, or if it's just, another tech illusion.
Well, technical SEO is traditionally treated like this dark art, right? It's heavily guarded by high-priced agencies.
Oh, absolutely.
But what makes our source material so compelling today is how transparently it breaks down the actual mechanics of search visibility.
We are moving way, way past the early 2000s tactic of just awkwardly cramming the phrase best running shoes into a paragraph 20 times.
Right. Keyword stuffing is ancient history. We have to look at the actual foundational architecture that modern search demands.
So to even evaluate a tool that claims to fix everything automatically, we have to look at how we got into this mess in the first place.
The history is important here.
Yeah. The source material spent some time on the creator of SEOPilot, a software developer named Alex Krulik. And he has a massive footprint in this space.
He really does.
He built 2 legacy SEO products, Magic Submitter and Rank Snap AI. And the text notes these tools completely dominated what is called off-page SEO for over 20,000 users.
20,000 is a huge user base.
It is. But let's define that first. For the listener, what are we actually talking about when we say off-page SEO?
Sure. So off-page SEO is primarily about building authority through consensus.
Okay, consensus meaning?
Like for a long time, the holy grail of search ranking was the backlink.
Right, getting other sites to link to yours.
Exactly. If you could get a high authority website, say the New York Times or some massive industry blog to link to your website, Google viewed that as a massive vote of confidence.
A digital thumbs up.
Pretty much. So Krulik's previous tools were essentially these engines for generating that external popularity, building citations, managing social signals. You're basically getting the rest of the internet to point at you.
But the text notes this really major pivot. Krulik was looking at this massive user base, these 20,000 people, and he kept seeing the exact same catastrophic failure.
The on-page stuff.
Right. They had incredible backlinks, they had all this external popularity, but their on-page SEO, what was actually happening inside their own website's code, was a complete disaster.
Yeah, they were bleeding traffic and had absolutely no idea why.
It exposes a massive vulnerability in how people build websites, doesn't it?
It really does. Off-page popularity is only half the equation. I mean, you can have the highest domain authority possible, but when the search engine crawler follows that backlink to your site, it still has to, read the room.
Has to figure out what you're about.
Right. And if your internal structure is this chaotic labyrinth of broken links and missing tags, the crawler just gets confused. It burns through its allocated time for your site, and it bounces.
It's essentially like spending years and tens of thousands of dollars building this massive 10-lane highway that leads directly to your digital storefront.
That's a good way to put it.
But then when the cars finally arrive, they find out you completely forgot to pay the parking lot, and the front door is deadbolted.
Exactly. The highway brings them there, but the technical SEO is the mechanism that unlocks the door, turns on the lights, and basically hands the crawler a perfectly organized map.
A locked door basically renders that entire highway useless.
Completely useless.
And what makes this so urgent and the source material drives this home really hard is that we are looking at a 2026 reality check right now.
The landscape has totally shifted.
It has. The cost of having a locked door has skyrocketed because the fundamental nature of searching the internet has fundamentally changed.
We are firmly in the AI search revolution.
Yes.
Users just aren't typing queries into traditional Google and scrolling through 10 blue links anymore. That's becoming the old way.
They're using generative AI engines as their primary gatekeepers now. We're talking ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Google's own AI overviews.
And the source gives this very stark warning about that.
It really does. It says these AI engines are answering questions directly, and they are making very specific, frankly ruthless choices about who to cite as a source and who to just completely ignore.
Well, we have to look at how a large language model actually evaluates a website, right? An AI doesn't read an article the way a human does.
It doesn't care about the clever metaphors.
Exactly. It does not care. It parses raw data. It relies on extremely specific technical signals to extract facts safely. It's looking for a very clean, logical heading structure.
Like H1s flowing into H2s flowing into H3.
Right. And it relies incredibly heavily on schema markup.
Okay, let's pause right there.
Yeah.
Schema markup. Break that down for me because that sounds intimidating.
Sure. Think of schema markup as a hidden layer of context. Let's say you post a recipe for chocolate chip cookies.
Okay, I love cookies.
Right. So a human goes to your page, they see the ingredients, they see the bake time, they instantly understand it.
Because we have eyeballs and a brain.
Right. But to ensure the AI knows exactly what it's looking at, schema markup is this hidden code that explicitly categorizes that data for the bot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it basically says, hey, bot, this specific block of text is the prep time, this number over here is the calorie count, and this paragraph is a user review.
Okay, wow. This is a huge shift in perspective for me. So when I ask an AI, like, what is the best podcast microphone? It isn't necessarily scouring the web for the most profound, beautifully written review.
Not at all.
It is aggressively summarizing the most cleanly structured information it can find without hitting some sort of computational wall.
Exactly. AI favors certainty above almost everything else. If your code is messy, an engine like Perplexity is going to look at your site, determine that extracting facts from your disorganized HTML is just too computationally expensive or risky, and skip you entirely.
Just completely bypass you.
Yep. It will go straight to your competitor, the guy who actually bothered to implement clean schema markup, and it will cite them by name instead.
So if your architecture is bad, you aren't even allowed on the playing field.
You're stuck in the locker room.
Which brings us to the actual damage. What exactly are these invisible walls that are blocking the AI? The text notes that the average website has between 100 to 300 technical issues just hiding in plain sight.
It's crazy. An SEOPilot supposedly runs over 35 different checks per page across 15 different categories just to find these hidden killers.
We are talking about broken internal links, thin content, schema errors, and missing canonical tags.
Canonical tags are a big one.
Let's use the canonical tag as an example, actually, because it is mentioned heavily in the source. What does that actually mean for the person who, just wants to run an online store?
Okay, so imagine you sell a t-shirt. You have a page for the red version of the shirt and a totally separate page for the blue version.
Pretty standard.
Right. To a human, those are clearly two distinct products. But to a search crawler reading the text, the descriptions are probably 99% identical.
Right. It's just the color that's different.
Exactly. So without a canonical tag, which is basically a piece of code telling the crawler, hey, the red shirt is the master copy, just index this one, the crawler gets incredibly confused.
Oh, it thinks you're copying yourself.
Yeah, it thinks you're trying to spam it with duplicate content to game the system, so it penalizes both pages and neither of them rank.
Oh, wow. You're basically shooting yourself in the foot without even knowing.
Oh, exactly.
And the source material shares this story from Alex Krulik's own desk that just perfectly illustrates how tedious this is.
Oh, the copying and pasting story.
Yes. He talks about sitting at his computer, spending 4 solid hours manually copying and pasting canonical tags across 60 different pages.
Brutal.
Copy the URL, paste the tag, save, Load the next page, copy, paste, save, over and over.
And he's a software developer.
Right. He's a highly skilled developer, and he is trapped doing hours of this mind-numbing data entry just to tell Google his pages aren't spam.
And that bottleneck right there is the absolute genesis of the tool we're analyzing today. I mean, if a machine can crawl a site and identify a missing canonical tag, the logical next step is asking, well, why can't the machine just apply the fix itself?
Which leads us to this crazy case study in the text. They took a site with great content that was just being completely ignored by search engines. They ran a diagnostic audit, and it found 1,092 ranking killing issues.
Over 1,000.
But here is where I start to get incredibly skeptical. The claim is that SEOPilot fixed 354 of those issues in exactly 8 minutes.
That is the core value proposition they're presenting, yeah.
Wait, hold on. Fixing code that fast is terrifying. I mean,
Right.
if I'm a business owner, the idea of a bot just ripping through my website's architecture and rewriting hundreds of lines of code while I drink my morning coffee, that sounds incredibly dangerous.
Oh, your skepticism is completely warranted. But before we address how it safely does that, we really need to understand why this end is so disruptive to the current tech landscape.
The diagnosis versus cure dilemma.
Exactly. We have to look at the industry standard tools.
Right. The text mentions Screaming Frog at $259 a year. A Rafts at $99 a month. SEMrush at $139 a month. These are massive, highly respected companies.
And they are incredibly sophisticated diagnostic instruments. Make no mistake, they will crawl your site with absolute pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah.
But for the average business owner, there's a fundamental flaw in that model. They only show you the problems.
Right.
You're basically paying $139 a month to download a spreadsheet containing 2,000 terrifying errors.
It's like paying a premium home inspector $150 every single month to come over, point at this massive water stain on your ceiling and say, yep, the roof is leaking, your foundation is going to rot.
Yep.
And then they just pack up their clipboard, flat out refuse to hand you a hammer, and drive away.
That's a perfect analogy. You are literally paying for the privilege of anxiety. Because to actually solve the problem, you still have to spend the hours manually editing code, or, you have to pay an agency thousands of dollars to interpret the spreadsheet and fix it for you.
And SEOPilot is attempting to just collapse that entire model.
Right. They're offering to find the leak and swing the hammer all at once, and they're charging a one-time fee of $27 to do it.
But let's go back to my panic attack about the 8-minute bulk fix.
Let's talk about the safety.
Yes, please. If I click a button to bulk fix 50 pages at once, how do I know this isn't just some AI hallucinating my site's code? We've all seen AI confidently invent fake information, right? I do not want a creative hallucinating bot rewriting my site structure.
The source material draws a very, very hard line here. They explicitly state that SEOPilot does not use generative AI to execute these code changes.
It doesn't guess.
It does not guess at all.
Right.
It relies entirely on what they call deterministic, rule-based logic.
Okay, deterministic logic. Explain that like I'm 5, please.
Sure. Generative AI is probabilistic, right? It guesses the next best word based on patterns, which is exactly why it hallucinates sometimes.
Okay.
Deterministic logic is binary and rigid. It operates purely on if X, then Y.
So it's just following rules.
Exactly. If the crawler sees 2 identical pages without a master tag, the established, universally agreed upon SEO rule is to apply a canonical tag to the older page. The software doesn't invent a new creative solution. It just identifies a structural deficit and instantly applies the globally accepted Google-compliant rule.
Oh, I see. It's just following a highly complex flowchart at lightning speed.
Precisely.
But still, what if I click Fix and suddenly my product images disappear or my entire page formatting breaks? That happens, right?
It does, which is why they mitigate that risk with a very comprehensive fail-safe system. Every single action the software takes is logged. It records the old code value and the new code value side by side.
Like a paper trail.
Exactly like a paper trail. And most importantly, every single change is completely reversible. If the automated fix produces an unintended result on your front end, you just click one button, and that specific change is undone instantly.
Okay, that does take a lot of the terror out of the equation for me.
It gives you a safety net.
Yeah. But physically, how is it connecting to all these different websites? Because the internet isn't uniform. A local bakery's website is built entirely differently than a massive tech blog.
The cross-platform compatibility they detail is actually quite clever. For WordPress, which powers, roughly 40% of the web, it uses a dedicated plugin.
Nice and easy.
Super easy.
Yeah.
You review the issues in the SEOPilot dashboard, you click Fix, and the plugin physically pushes the updated code directly to your server.
Okay, but what if I'm not on WordPress? What if I'm running a Shopify store or a Wix site?
For closed ecosystems like Shopify, it uses a lightweight JavaScript snippet.
Timeout. A JavaScript snippet. What does that actually look like in practice for the user?
So think of it like a dynamic overlay. You paste one very small line of code into your Shopify header, just once.
Okay.
From then on, when a search crawler visits your store, that snippet communicates with the SEOPilot API. The API instantly beams down the corrected technical tags, like the proper schema markup for your products, and layers them over your site in real time right before the crawler reads it.
Wait, so I don't have to edit my template?
Nope. You never have to touch your core Shopify template files at all.
Wow. It's like putting a perfectly tailored, structurally sound suit over your existing website right as the search engine walks in the room.
That's exactly what it is. And they take it a step further for complex, modern websites built on frameworks like React or Angular. These are known as single-page applications.
Oh, I know those are notoriously difficult for SEO. Why is that exactly?
Because the content isn't hard-coded into the HTML. It is dynamically generated by JavaScript in the user's browser as they interact with the page.
Oh, so the crawler can't read it.
Right. When a basic search crawler hits a React site, it often just sees a blank page with a loading script. It's invisible to them. To solve this, SEOPilot uses a headless browser engine.
Headless browser. I have to say, that sounds like a horror movie. What is it actually doing?
A headless browser is basically a web browser without the graphical user interface. Imagine a robot opening an invisible Google Chrome tab, physically loading your website, executing all that complex JavaScript, and waiting for the images and text to fully render exactly like a human user would.
Okay.
Once the page is fully constructed in this invisible tab, then SEOPilot audits the underlying code. It ensures that it is diagnosing the exact same rendered structure that Google's most advanced bots will actually see.
Okay, the technical depth here is genuinely impressive. They're going to extreme lengths to see the internet exactly how the AI engines see it.
They really are.
But let's bring this down to the actual human impact. We have established that it's safe, and we know how it physically functions. Who does this actually change the game for?
The source material highlights 3 distinct groups whose business models completely shift when you automate this process. Let's look at bloggers and content creators first.
Okay, so for them, this is basically about removing friction, right?
Exactly.
You're an expert in your niche. You are not a web developer. If you spend your time writing incredibly valuable insights, but the AI engines ignore you because your heading hierarchies are broken, you are just wasting your talent.
It's tragic, honestly.
It is. Automating this clears the road, so your actual expertise dictates your traffic, not your coding ability.
Then you have e-commerce operators, and the dynamic here is purely financial.
Everything is with e-commerce.
Right. E-commerce relies so heavily on paid advertising to drive traffic. If your product pages are buried on page 4 of search results due to, thin content warnings or missing canonical tags, you basically have to buy your way to the top.
You're forced to buy ads.
Yes. By cleaning the technical foundation and ranking organically, you transition from renting your traffic to actually owning it. The profit margins expand dramatically.
The third group mentioned is really interesting to me. Freelancers and SEO agencies. The text notes a pro license for $37 that includes commercial rights and client reporting. This totally changes the agency model, right?
It totally shifts the value proposition of an agency. I mean, if you are an SEO consultant, you no longer have to bill hours for the manual labor of auditing and pasting tags.
Right, the tedious stuff.
You use the software to execute those foundational fixes in minutes, generating a clean activity log to show the client. That frees the agency up to focus on high-level strategy, content creation, conversion optimization, the things that actually move the needle.
You essentially white label the automation and look like an absolute wizard to your clients.
Pretty much.
And tying all of this together is how the user actually interacts with it. They emphasize an incredibly simple dashboard. They explicitly claim, if you can use Facebook, you can use SEOPilot.
Which is a bold claim, but it seems to hold up.
Right. But there's one specific integration they mentioned that caught my eye. A one-click OAuth connection to Google Search Console. Let's decode that real quick. What is OAuth?
OAuth is a secure authorization standard. Instead of manually exporting endless spreadsheets of your website's traffic data from Google and then manually uploading them to SEOPilot.
Which sounds awful.
It is. Instead of that, you click one button, securely log in with your Google account, and grant permission. SEOPilot then pulls your live performance data directly from Google's servers.
Wow.
Yeah, it processes up to 25,000 rows at a time, so you can see exactly which pages are losing traffic and prioritize fixing them immediately inside the dashboard.
It just centralizes the diagnosis and the cure in one window.
Exactly.
Which I think forces us to ask the ultimate question presented in the text. What is the true cost of doing nothing? If I'm listening to this right now and thinking, I'll deal with my schema markup next quarter.
Well, the source material frames inaction as a compounding penalty. Every single day, you ignore your structural deficits. Your competitors who have optimized their code are absorbing the organic traffic that should be yours.
Because Google's crawler hits your messy site, gets frustrated, and just hands your ranking to the competitor who actually bothered to clean their room.
Exactly. Traditional organic traffic begins to dry up for you. You enter this vicious cycle where you become entirely reliant on paid ads just to survive.
While the new AI search engines continue to pretend you don't even exist because you don't speak their technical language.
Exactly. It's a lose-lose.
Looking at everything we've unpacked today, it really feels like a distinct line has been drawn in the sand for anyone operating online right now.
I agree.
The era of ignoring technical SEO just because you aren't a software engineer, it's over. The mechanisms now exist to automate the heavy lifting, to deterministically fix the foundation of your digital property.
You can essentially set your structural code on autopilot.
Right, leaving you completely free to focus entirely on human tasks, writing great content, building better products, serving your customers.
It is a profound equalization of the technical playing field. But, looking at the trajectory of this technology, it leads to a rather fascinating implication for the future of search itself.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, consider the end state of this automation. If tools like this become universally adopted and suddenly every single website on the internet has technically perfect, pristine architecture, how does the AI decide who wins?
Oh, wow.
Right? When the playing field is entirely level on a structural basis and every single site hands the crawler a flawless map, what becomes the new deciding factor for visibility?
That is a really wild thought. I mean, does SEO eventually circle all the way back around to a battle of pure human creativity and original thought? Or will the AI simply evolve and invent entirely new, completely invisible technical metrics to judge us by?
It's the ultimate question as we transition fully into this AI search era. The technical foundation will be perfect, but the rules of discovery, well, they'll just keep evolving.
It really makes you wonder. We spent years building these massive highways, but the toll booths are actively changing form right in front of us. It is definitely time to make sure you have at least unlocked the front door so when the search engines finally arrive, your digital storefront isn't just an empty ghost town.